Hello, Grace. Welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for joining me. So, I thought we could start with just talking a bit about who you are for those who don't know, and then we could go on to maybe how you started cycling.
So I am Grace Garner. I am 23 and I'm an ex-professional cyclist. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Just living with a professional cyclist at the moment, Gab's colleague. He rides for Movistar. So yeah, just looking after his diet and just being a motor pacer and trying to live a normal life at the same time. So it's all good fun. All good fun.
Awesome. So, let's start at how you got into cycling.
So I can't remember when it first started, to be honest. Just like forever, I've ridden bikes. I think my dad got us on bikes without stabilizers when we were like 2 years old. We used to live in like a little close, so there was no cars, and we just used to bomb around. And I think I must have been about 7 or 8 when we first joined Leicester Road Club, which was like a go ride club. And then we did like mountain biking, cyclocross, mainly off-roading stuff really when we were younger. And then started doing like the British schools, champs and stuff like that. And then just did all disciplines: road, track, mountain biking, cyclocross. I think we even did a bit of speedway at some
Oh,
point.
amazing.
So just got into it through the normal sort of go ride grassroots stuff. So
I have only
no.
done speedway once, and genuinely, I am not a sprinter, as you know, but like I almost took Emily Kay into the
Oh
barriers.
really?
Like I was awful at it, but I had the
Oh,
determination, but just no skill whatsoever,
exactly.
no
It's
skill. But it's
hard. It's really hard.
I think a lot of people don't even know what speedway is. It's kind of like,
No.
how would you describe it?
Like a tiny velodrome without banking, which you can just skid the whole way around. Is it like gravel? I think it's like gravel,
It's
isn't
like a
it?
sandy gravel oval,
And you're on like
and
an
yeah.
upside down track bike. I don't know. It's
Yeah, I don't even know
great
what it's like.
sport.
And you're in some like retro Adidas Sambas, and you get like 10 small children to all like challenge each other to the death into the first
Into
corner.
the first
It's
corner.
like the most insane thing. Like, if you get any time, genuinely, like, YouTube cycle
Yes,
speedway races, because it is so good. And
definitely.
like the style as well, like that, people are just in like trackies and like a helmet that looks like it's
Getting
backwards.
their foot out around the
Yeah.
corner. All sorts.
Oh, it is so good. So growing up, your sister was racing as well. Was your family like a cycling family, or did you just kind of like, how, I'm kind of intrigued, like how they would
Yeah.
think of, oh, it's a good idea to put these girls in a race.
Yeah.
Or was that through
So
Leicester?
yeah. So my grandparents actually did some racing. They did grass track actually, something I never did. And my granddad did time trialing. Didn't
Nice.
do any of that mass start stuff he always tells
Yeah,
us.
yeah.
But yeah, so it was like grass track, and I think my grandma was quite good at grass track. And I'm sure there's so many stories that my granddad's told me, like what 100-mile club record he held and everything. But yeah, so it was kind of like they did it, and then my uncle and my dad did sort of, do you know, like challenges, like road,
Like the
um
sportives and stuff like that.
yeah, things like that, but just sort of on their own, did like big days, like
Yeah.
weekends, of just like touring, I guess. And then I think when we were born, that's when my uncle started doing a bit of like cyclocross racing. And then my dad went along and saw that there was like little kids doing it. And then, that was it really, just from there. And then we would do like the West Mids League and Notts and Derby. Yeah, Notts and Derby on a Saturday, West Midlands on a Sunday. So yeah,
Nice. So you actually started
constant.
doing cyclocross then when you were.
Properly, yeah. On I think if you've been around for a long time in cycling, like our generation, then you'll have known that me and Lucy used to ride on like these moustache handlebars when we were like, there's so many photos around, and I don't even know where my dad got them from, but they were like, we were basically riding a
You're gonna
mountain
have to
bike
send me a
with,
photo.
I know, the strangest shaped handlebars I've ever seen, but it was brilliant. Such a good bike that. I've still got it now.
I remember was it you who I saw some photos of like riding a penny farthing or something? Was it you and Lucy?
Yeah, so I think that was probably for Lucy's 8th birthday. She got a penny farthing.
Oh my God.
So my mum and dad are actually, were members of the Desford Lane Peddlers, which is a vintage cycling club. So we used to dress up in like our Victorian clothes on a weekend and go for like a roast dinner somewhere. Just like a massive group. There's probably like 20, 30 of us that would all get dressed up on a weekend and do it. I was like really quite young. I must have been 5 or 6, and used to just go on like an old like shop bike with a basket on the front. But yeah, I think dad sold the pennies last year, so we've actually he's got any. Yeah, they're in a museum in like Thailand or somewhere, so it's quite exciting. Wow, we'll have to go and see them.
No, awesome. Like I always loved like going to London Nocturne and watching the penny farthing race, because like the outfits and everything just like made it so special.
I'd love to have done that one year, but no, I don't have a penny farthing anymore.
You got into cycling, you were riding off-road, you did a bit of the penny farthing stuff. When did you first end up doing road cycling?
Yeah, it'd probably be with Leicestershire Road Club, and we just used to go and do the British Schools events I think it was like at Darley Moor, and we live quite near Mallory Park, so there's like a kids league that we used to do there as well. So yeah, it probably came sort of like at the same time, but probably like a year after, when dad had managed to mackle together a road bike for us. But yeah, no, it's good to have Mallory Park. Yeah, that was I think it was like every Tuesday night, and then we used to do like roller sessions with Dan McClay on Friday nights. So we used to get KFC and roller session every Friday night.
That sounds like an amazing Friday night.
I know, it is. Brilliant. But yeah, there was quite a good group of us as well, because Charlotte brought in, she was there. So it was normally like me and Charlotte, we'd like probably do like 15 minutes on the rollers and then end up like just playing on our Nintendos, and then everyone else would do a good session. So yeah, back in the day.
God, yeah, that's crazy. I mean, do you think it helped you having an older sister there and Charlotte to compete with as well? Do you think that made you better?
Yeah, I think definitely with Charlotte, because we always were sort of like the same. Like she was a year younger than me, so like sometimes we weren't in the same age category, but it was really good to have her like so close. We didn't really train together that much, to be honest, when we both lived here. But no, it was definitely, there was a healthy rivalry between us.
Yes.
But yeah, and Lucy as well, like I think she sort of just like made a pathway that I could sort of just follow, but sort of do my own thing at the same time. So yeah, it was nice to know like we've come from exactly the same upbringing and sort of like way into the sport, and she made it like really, really early on. So it sort of gave me the hope that I could do that too. So
yeah, and just for those people who don't know, do you want to tell us a little bit about your sister?
Yeah, so Lucy, now Vanderhaar, is, was it, oh God, I don't know the years now. Is it 2011, 2012 junior world champion on the road? So yeah, she turned pro as well when she was 18. So she's done 7 years pro now. So yeah, she's been around a little while. So yeah, world champion as a big sister. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, that's very cool. And she's had great success. You got to ride together on Wiggle and High Tech.
Yeah, 3 years we were together. That's really nice.
Yeah, no, that must be so cool.
Yeah, definitely. Like when you sort of get really close with your teammates, like no matter what team you're on anyway, but having your sister there was just sort of, I just got used to it. It was weird last year to like not have her on the team, like no going to team meetings, like
Where is she?
yeah. She said the same as well, like she was at opening weekend and she was just like, where are you, like it's just weird that you're not around. So,
Grace, I need to FaceTime you into team talk.
Constant, yeah, bless her. But no,
How's she getting on?
she's good, yeah. She's still getting out on the bike quite a bit, just training. And it's Lars, so her husband Lars, cyclocross rider, he's in his season at the minute, so she's well, COVID permitting, she's been going to a few of the races as the support crew, so it's kind of still quite normal for her because she retired as well at the end of the season, so it feels quite normal for her, but she keeps saying like, oh,
know that.
Oh, did you not? Yeah, she's hung up the wheels as well, so yeah, she keeps saying like, why is everyone in Spain training camp, like it's so early, we're in October still, and it's like, Lucy, the season starts in like 4 weeks, just because you've not got back on the bike yet properly, like it feels like it's still like November, December, but yeah, she's good. Yeah, she's good.
Awesome. Did you ever feel like when you were growing up, did you ever feel like pressure because Lucy had done so well?
Yeah, I did, but it was all coming from myself. Like I said as well, like when you come from the same background, like we've got very similar genetics, like all things like that, you think, well, I should be able to do that, like I should be able to go on to do as well as she has. But it was definitely all just like from myself, like I, especially through like my like under 16 and junior years, I was really like tough on myself. I was like, I need to do this, Lucy was doing this, Lucy won this, I have to try and get that. But yeah, it was just I was still obviously like so happy for her, and I wasn't like jealous of her in any way, but I just expected that I should be able to do it as well. But no, I think it's normal to sort of put yourself under that pressure, but yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, if it's not an older sister, it's another person you raise with, or it's if you're competitive, you're always putting pressure on yourself
definitely
to achieve something.
Yeah,
so
100%.
when I mean, you did have quite a lot of success when you were youth, when you were junior, like many national titles and junior European individual pursuit champion as well. Do you want to just talk us through like your experience at that sort of age?
Yeah, so I think one would have been the first sort of like proper big international thing was the Youth Olympics. So I got bronze there, so that was like pretty cool to sort of get a taste for like racing like big events like international, and then it would be going on to the juniors, and
so
we did quite a few.
What year would that have been? I'm just trying to think.
2011 probably. God, that's 10 years ago.
I know, it's crazy, man.
Oh my goodness. That's mad. But yeah, so it would have been then. We did sort of with the talent team, we'd go and do like Apple Dawn track meetings and things like that. And then through the track really you start doing, because I was on talent team, we do like international meets and stuff. But when you're junior, there's not so much sort of like, well, BC never really took us to like the big many big championships. But we did, what did I do as a junior? I did track Euros. So first year we won the European title and I got a silver in the Omnium. And then I think nationally I won like scratch 500 meter individual pursuit, like all the titles on the track, and then I think potentially on the road, and maybe not on the road as well, but so I kind of just if I didn't win I was very sort of
understandably. When you're doing your youth and junior racing, obviously you're having massive success. What made you not want to go on to the academy? What made you want to go onto the road?
To be honest, I would probably say it was Lucy, like just following what she was doing. I loved the track and I was really successful on the track, but it wasn't sort of where my passion was.
Yeah.
I enjoyed going fast and I enjoyed like winning, but it was still like you go like get up, ride to the track, you're in the track in the velodrome all day, and then you go back home and you like don't see the light of day and you're just inside and it's a bit like monotonous. That's how I felt. So I think, you know, the thought of being a pro bike rider on the road, like it was cool, you got to travel, you got to see more. So yeah, that was sort of what I wanted to do. And by that time I'd won some like women's national series on the road, and I'd been racing, I think I'd got 7th at junior worlds on the road, and I thought, oh, maybe this could be what I did. So I was then at school, and I think in cycling years it kind of falls like you either finish your junior years in school at the same time or you have like one more year to go, but luckily I was like the youngest, so I finished junior and finished school I think at the same time. So that sort of left me with like what to do next. And I just thought I'm just gonna go full on the road, and luckily Sarah Story asked if I wanted to join her team, which was turning UCI that year. So and then that's how it all started, really.
Awesome. When you were coming up through the kind of different levels of the kind of British national squad, can you kind of explain how that was? Because a lot of people won't maybe know what talent team, ODP, what those programs are.
So talent team, it's called something different now. I think it's called Olympic Development Academy or something. I'm not 100% sure what it's called.
Is it Olympic Development Academy, then Olympic Development Program, maybe?
I think so, yeah. So the younger one, so that's sort of like youth under 16. That's your that's under the second year, the years 2 and 3 of under 16, and then from there I think it's less people, so there'll be like 8 girls, 8 boys, and that's the development program, which is your junior years, and that's when you go to like more of the major championships and stuff. And then normally I think they give it a name, like I think ours was like Road to Tokyo. So yeah, they kind of hope that you're going to continue the pathway. So after that, with the Olympic, so the talent team and the ODP, you just live at home. Normally you should be all at school, not everyone was, and then when you go on to the senior academy, that's you live in Manchester on mainly track endurance or sprint. I would have been on the endurance. At that point I got offered a place on the academy, but that wasn't where I wanted to be. So
No, that makes sense. So let's talk about you turning professional with Sarah Story's team, Podium Ambition, I think it was called that year.
Yeah.
What was that like, giving out the track and heading onto the road?
Yeah, it was cool. I think sort of everything that I thought it would be. Like, I think we got into Flanders that year, like straight from juniors.
I saw that.
Getting into Flanders. Sharon Laws was on the team, and some like amazing like international riders, like Nicole Morrig from Australia, like just a lot of people that I met, a lot of different. It was just completely different to what I've been used to. I started getting. I think I was coached by Matt Winston again that year, so that was good because I'd worked with him in the past. It was just dead cool, just getting up, ride my bike. I think I had a waitressing job straight from school, so I'd just do Friday, Saturday, Sundays waitressing, and then just ride my bike all the other time. So
awesome.
it was good fun, and we did get to travel a lot. We did like Luxembourg, Brittany, Holland and Belgium, and then I went to Ireland and did the RAS as well. So it was
Yeah.
pretty good first year, I'd say.
Yeah, no, it definitely was. And am I right that you rode the European Road Championships for GB that year as well?
Yeah, so that was
Was
really
that your
cool.
first one?
Yeah, so they took quite a young team that year. We were riding for Alice Barnes. Yeah, so there was it was in like Plumelec, so in France,
Yeah.
the Europeans, and then also then got selected for the Women's Tour of Britain that year after that. So yeah, I think I'd done a lot too much that year, and by the time we got to Women's Tour of Britain, I'd completely burnt out. That was like on my 18th birthday, and I think I'd just done way too much.
Yeah.
But that sort of, I think with BC on the road, like if you don't perform one time, you're kind of out, and that was kind of how it was with me. I kind of didn't perform, and then I never got a look in again after that. So yeah, it was pretty sad when I kind of realised like this was my only opportunity. But I'm really glad like I got to represent my country at the elite level as well, because
Yeah, no, that's a very special opportunity.
yeah.
So with I mean, I want to know the story. You've just turned professional. You're there. Probably one of the first races you're doing is the Tour of Flanders. Like probably one of the hardest races that you can physically do, and that's one of your first pro races. What's going through your head?
I just was just like in awe of everything. Like, I mean, I've been since, and it's still like the same feeling, do you know, like in this square in Oudenaarde, like it's just amazing. Like it always will be, like if you're racing or if you're just spectating. But I was just like, oh my god, there's like world champion there, there's whoever there's Marianne Moss there, like crazy. And we were just like went to the Haribo store, like got all sweets to like fill our pockets with. We Sarah has quite a close relationship with Magnus Backstead, so he obviously is very experienced at Tour of Flanders. So he was kind of telling us like on all the sections, like go keep to the right. There's a drain cover that you can like ride on the edge of, and like it was amazing. Yeah, really good insight. And then I can remember the race start. All the Wiggle girls had Flanders flags on their helmets as well. I'll just always remember that. That was really cool. Danny King, King was there. And I think we just got to the start line really early, just like really keen. All the Belgian people outside the camper, we thought we were really cool. Like, oh my god, people want our autograph. We're just a small British team. And then I think we'd been out of the neutral for like 10k, and we were coming into the first climb. I was already swinging on the back, and then Lizzie Armitstead at the time put her hand up, was going through, anyone stopping for the toilet? And it was like 5k before the first climb, something stupid like this. So she stops for a wee, I'm on the back, and then of course like few minutes later she comes back just cruising straight to the front. And then I think I was pretty much dropped about 20k after that. So yeah, it was a crazy experience. That was one of our first races, so but yeah, it was mental.
Had you done much racing in Belgium before that?
I'd done, so every year I'd done like the Tour of Assen. So that was from when I was probably like 10 years old. So I'd sort of had like international racing experience, but nothing like that at all. Yeah.
I mean, to be fair to you, like it's probably the hardest, if women's one-day race that's on the calendar. Although Paris-Roubaix women's race was meant to happen in 2020, and I hoping it's on the calendar again this year.
Yeah, so, definitely. Yeah, I'm sure it will be. That'll probably take its crown, won't it? Hardest race.
You've done your first race as a pro. You've ridden for Story Racing, and then at the time, Lucy was riding for Wiggle. Is that right?
Yes, she was. So actually going back a year, Rochelle Gilmore actually got in contact with me when I was still a junior, and she wanted me to be on the team. Even when I think it was after, my first, so as a second year junior, she wanted me on the team to sort of just represent. So yeah, it was crazy to think like, oh well, maybe
and at the time Wiggle was the best team in the world, right?
Exactly. So that was when I was at Ponferrada, I think, World Championships. So that was my first year as a junior. She contacted me to say, would I like to join a team next year? But I still had ambitions on the track. I just wanted to, be at school and be on the track and just carry on. So I kind of had contact with her a couple of years before. So when it came to sort of moving on, I think I actually approached her and said, like, are you still interested? Like, I'm ready now. Is there a place on the team? And I think at that point, I think I'd won like a bunch sprint in like the Tour of Brittany or something. I'd had like a couple of results which were all right for my first year. And then she started contacting me a bit more and keeping in touch, and then it just came about. I think I had a phone call to confirm when we were at Euros. So
wow, so super exciting weekend then.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was.
Crikey. Okay, so Rochelle calls you up. She says, Grace, I need you.
Yeah.
I need you on my team. And what was your first race? Actually, I do know your first race for Wiggle. Was it Hagaland?
I think yes, I think it was. Yeah.
Now we get to the famous story. I'll let you tell it.
Yeah. So it must be that year. So
2017
was the year. Was it? I can't believe that. So I just, if anyone's actually been to that part of the world, you know that between both sides of the road there is a crater, which
the Valley of Death.
Yes, which is probably 6 inches wide, if that, and people just seem to gravitate towards it, don't they? Get the wheels stuck. So of course there's crashes left, right and centre. There always is in that race, isn't there? Every year
I think it's because it is, other than Het Nieuwsblad, I think it's like one of the first races, so it's like February time, Omloop Hageland.
So crash happens, me and Keira are at the back, a spare, and we just get caught, and that's the end of the race pretty much, isn't it? And then
that was also my first race that year.
Was it? Keira comes to the rescue because I can't get in the camper van because no one expects you not to finish, and saves me with a hot chocolate, so that was very nice.
That was super crazy. Like, I think for you, obviously it was like first race riding for Wiggle, but for me personally, like, I just moved to Belgium to do a year with the Dave Rayner Fund, and it was kind of like, as much as it was awful that we got caught behind that crash and we ended up not finishing, like, it was quite nice to have a friendly face.
Definitely.
A friendly face helping us through.
Definitely, 100%. I think I got Yolene to the bottom of the climb, and then the crash was like straight after or something. I can't remember, but I just kept thinking, I got Yolene to the bottom of the climb. It's fine. It's fine. I did my job. And I think in a team meeting afterwards, she was like, yeah, you did a really good job today, Grace. And I was like, thank God.
Phew. You were thinking like, oh, have they locked me out of this camper because they're not very happy.
I know, crazy.
So how was the first year with Wiggle?
Amazing. Amazing. I think I'd just turned 19 and I was driving around a brand new Honda, like swanky Colnagos. I was just, it was literally a dream come true. So I think we were ranked second best team in the world at the time. So yeah, and being on a team with like Giorgia Bronzini, like it was just mind blowing to me that I was there with them, like sort of get imposter syndrome, like why am I here, like how have I come to be on this team? But no, it was amazing, and having Lucy there to sort of like guide me. She'd already been pro for 3 or 4 years by then, so yeah, it was really exciting. Yeah. And it was very professional. Like I think Rochelle sort of went above and beyond for all of us to make sure we had sort of everything provided. Yeah, very, very sort of high standard. Yeah, amazing experience to just get thrown into that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So if you were to kind of summarize like year 1 and year 2 with Wiggle, like how would you kind of assess like your season?
Yeah, it started off well with Wiggle. Went tour down under my first year. Did well, got some like top tens on the podium as well for the team one day for, I think it was like the points jersey or something.
Nice.
So that was good. I started off really well and then got raced quite a bit. But then when we came back to Europe, I don't know whether I needed some time off or something, and then it kind of like the races like dwindled, like you have one drop in performance and then it was like, right, we'll just keep you out of the racing for a bit. And then I ended up racing through till I did Guangxi, so I raced like in October as well. And then started again, didn't get picked for Australia. I was pretty gutted about that. And then the start of my second year, sort of just they had the A team and that was it. Yeah, I had like I think it was like 3 months pretty much in like smack bang in the middle of the season with like nothing. So that was kind of when I was like, yeah, it started to sort of hit me that maybe, yeah, I wasn't getting raced. I wasn't sort of at that level. So yeah, it was hard because you go from racing like you think it's going really well, you're developing really, but then I sort of got to a point as well where I needed a bit more guidance and I needed a bit more someone who had worked with like a really young rider, like transitioning, and I didn't really have it. I didn't sort of have the support. You kind of, when you're on a pro team like that, you're expected to have your own coach and you're expected to just do everything off your own back and sort of have everything in place. But yeah, when you're a young rider, you sort of don't realise that.
I think a lot of people find that as well, that, you know, I was having a conversation with another professional rider here at the minute, and they were saying that, you know, if you don't go out to your first couple of races and do exceptionally well, you kind of get put on the B team, so you get selected less often, and then because you're not racing as much, you don't have the opportunity to progress as fast as the people who are racing. And you know, a lot of the way you improve is through doing the really hard 100%, races, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I think with Wiggle, mainly we didn't really run a double program, so there wasn't really like much. I mean, they did a lot of racing, but yeah, again, it was like the World Tour team, and I think Elisa was leading the World Tour, and it was just all sort of, they needed the best riders in the races every race, which left half of us sort of just sitting on the sidelines. And then obviously didn't represent Great Britain for anything, and sort of when there's never many races in the UK that you can do, so it was a bit like, that's when it sort of hit me like Wiggle's ending sort of at the end of the year, and I've hardly raced at all. Like I need to
that must have been tough. I mean, based on your pro cycling stats, it said that 2018 was actually your best year. Do you feel like it was in terms of your performance, or not?
I don't know. Probably it's hard because probably the races I did.
You didn't get the opportunity to show it. Kind of thing.
But I didn't really get. There was just a big lull in. It felt like. I mean, to be honest, it probably doesn't look like there was a big lull because we sort of got the program, and then like a few days before the race, it'd be like, oh, you need to get your flight to here in like a few days because someone's pulled out and then you weren't prepared, and then it was just a bit like a bit here and there, and I just didn't feel like I had a good momentum through that season. But it is what it is now.
Yeah, no, for sure. So you kind of touched upon it there. Wiggle ended up folding at the end of 2018.
Yes.
And you and your sister joined High Tech. How did that come about?
So Alan Davis was how old was that year, or was it Martin, Emmy Johansson's husband, maybe the year after? But anyway, they'd sort of been in touch with a couple of like the DSs from teams, and I had feelers out with quite a few teams actually, like which teams was it? Maybe a couple of Italian teams which were looking like they were going to materialize and turn into something, and it just didn't. But then Lucy signed with High Tech quite early on, and then it was kind of like, right, I'm not going to be a pro bike rider next year. Like, I can't get a contract. There's just nothing. And then I think it was like in November, I think, because Rochelle sort of ended the team with just because she just wanted a break from it, and like it wasn't sort of like, because there was lack of sponsorship and stuff, it was just like her call. So she took it upon herself for a lot of the younger riders to sort of help them out. So she just basically emailed all the DSs and was like, is there any space? And thankfully High Tech Carl was amazing and came and made a place on the team for me. So I was very lucky. I think I signed on the 11th of December. So
wow.
It was a very late signing.
I think that's the problem with a lot of pro teams. You know, if you're only on for like a 1-year contract, like every single year you get to September, October, and it's just like a massive like stress inducing anxiety, like 100%. Who am I going to sign for? Like, I mean, okay, if you've had a good year, you maybe have a few options, but you know, I just know personally from living with Jake, and I'm sure you've experienced it both with Gabs and yourself, it gets to like September and you're like, okay, here we go, a couple of months of like, am I going to be a bike rider next year?
Exactly. And especially with like women, most of us don't have agents. Like, you just sort of expected to like get contacts from like teammates that you've had in the past, and like just bug people and just be like, just send emails out and do it all yourself rather than having an agent to do it for you. So it can get quite stressful. But when that year with Wiggle, when I had a 2-year deal, I was the most chilled out bike rider over the winter. So it's it was nice to have that security.
Yeah, I just hope that more teams in the women's side of the sport, and also the men's as well, will consider 2-3 year contracts with people, just because I don't think it's sustainable for a rider to have that level of like, can I even do this next year? It's not gonna get the best out of you.
No, definitely not. No, I think it is going that way, especially like in the bigger teams, but still obviously in the smaller teams it's kind of not the same. So
we'll get there for sure. You had another year with your sister, but you had something happen start of 2019. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yes. Well, already, because I've been so stressed out not signing till December, that I was kind of like not in a good rhythm. I wasn't sure if I was going to be racing at that level, so I kind of had like quite a poor winter anyway. And then sort of it got going and it was going all right, but I wasn't really that fit. And then I think I started doing all right, and then I went to China, and China's normally a good one because it's flat and I can normally get some like good racing Ks in the legs. To be honest, I've been to China 3 times already by then, 4 times by then already. And I just said to the team, like, I wasn't that keen on going just because there's so many crashes. It is dangerous and it's a long travel and everything, but I got picked. So I was like, right, we're just going to go and we're just going to have a good time. And first day came and there was a preem, so we were leading out Marta for the intermediate sprint. So I think we were going like 60k an hour, and someone just went into the barrier. I don't even know what happened. And there was just a mass pile up like in the middle of the peloton, and I just landed with all my weight on my shoulder. And yeah, so that was in China. It's sort of like known that there's a lot of crashes, so I kind of like got up, dust myself off, and then my Soigneur came running and he was like, "You don't look good, like, you okay?" And I was like, "I think my shoulder hurts." But so he grabbed my arms and just went like that, and he was like, "You're fine, don't worry." And then when he did that, I just lost my eyesight. Like it just went white, completely white over. And yeah, basically got in this rickety old ambulance and got to the hospital, and they broken. But I had to then stay. I couldn't get a flight home, so I had to just stay in the hotel room then with this blooming collarbones pretty much about sticking out for a few days.
What was it like being in a hospital in China? Like, how did the language barrier, like, did you have any like fixes or anything to help you?
No, so I was in ambulance with Grace Brown. She was, I think, she was like, "Oh, I think I've just dislocated my shoulder. Yeah, I think I've just dislocated. I need it popping back in." And I was like, and she was so cool and calm, and like really, like, "Oh, it's just
like, really?
dislocated."
Come on.
And I was there like, "Oh my God, my shoulder, it's so painful." And then we got there, she went in first. Well, they were like, "Grace," and we both looked at each other like, which one? They didn't write down on, like, nothing was formal, so it was just an x-ray. It said Grace, date of birth 1st of January 1991, like completely just no information. And it ended up it was Grace, and the other Grace, she'd broken her collarbone. So then I was thinking, oh God, if I've not broken mine now, I'm such a drama queen. So yeah, I ended up with both broken them. But yeah, terrible experience in the hospital.
No.
It wasn't, I wouldn't recommend breaking a bone in China. But yeah, that wasn't very nice. So, but then when I got home, I just went through the NHS, and it needed operating on because all the ligaments had come away, ruptured like ligaments or something. But anyway, it needed operated on. And then every sort of few days, I'd get a phone call. "Oh, it's going to be this weekend. It's going to be this weekend." And it ended up being 4 weeks after the break. So it was healing completely wrong. That I had to get the operation. And by this time, obviously, I was like, I need to go private. But then I was like, but it's going to be this weekend. So it was kind of like just a long 4 weeks. And then I got it operated on, and it was fine. But obviously they had to, like, I think they had to pretty much shatter the bone to like get it back into place. So I was in agony. Then it started off all over again. And I think from my operation, it was sort of like 4 weeks until nationals. So of course, when you're a bike rider, you're like, that's my goal. I'm just gonna get get back.
Obviously.
But yeah, after that, it's sort of, I never really recovered from the accident. I think because I'd had like, it was quite traumatic for me. And it's funny because like people break their collarbones all the time, and like it's so just a normal break, isn't it, when you're a cyclist? But I felt like I sort of didn't bounce back, and my sort of, when I was like in the races, I was just complete nerve bag, just wasn't the same. Just had no confidence. So it was pretty bad. And then I ended up having to I had the plate out in the October, so I had general, went under again, and then it got infected, and then that was all a long process. So it was all like, it was just a terrible experience. But it's left a nice scar.
Oh mate, so that was going on throughout the whole of 2019?
Yeah, basically the whole of 2019. So just sort of never never got going again after that, really. It's terrible.
So you did do a few races in 2019, but like you said, you
Yeah.
just weren't yourself.
No, definitely not. And then so my last race I think was a Bowls Ladies Tour, so I was right, this is it, it's going to be fine. And if you like, everyone that rode it was just like, why is it so nervous? Like everybody was just, it was just, the whole peloton was so nervy, it was just terrible. And then on, I think it was, I can't even remember what day it was, like midway through, because I think it's a 7-day one, there was a crash, and it was a big one, and it was just really loud. Do you know when there's a lot of banging and like carbon? And I was nowhere near it. I was completely safe, but I just ended up having a massive panic attack, and
Because of the
that was it.
noise.
Yeah. And
Shit.
it was, I think it was kind of like the same sort of like mass pile up, and
Yeah.
that was it. That was my that is to this day my last bike race that I've done, just ended like that. So,
That is so awful.
yeah, it was pretty, not great, but yeah, it's, things happen, don't they? And it's, you try to talk to people and get through it, but it was, I think it impacted me quite a lot more than sort of just the surface.
Well, I really think it depends on like the person, the type of the crash, but people genuinely do get like PTSD symptoms from bad crashes. I ended up in the ditch of the Paterberg, and honestly, I still to this day, if I'm descending fast, I can't commit the same as when I was racing before. So it is 100% a genuine thing, and like you say, there's some people who crash every other week. I remember like Mel Lowther, bless her soul, she was crashing every other week, and she'd be back up and destroying everyone. And I was like, how is this girl doing it? I don't know. But it's just so funny how these crashes affect people so differently.
Like people bounce back from collarbones literally like 7 days after they're like back winning nationals and stuff like this, but so I kind of was expecting that, like, oh, it's fine, it's just my collarbone, it's going to be straight back up.
I think it's really important to open up about it and say that you did struggle with it, because I think so many people do, and they feel like you say, you see so many people just bounce back from crashes and it not affect them, that you feel like, oh, I'm an outsider, like,
definitely,
why am I so scared?
Definitely, 100%. And like, I look there like in what I've been watching racing obviously this year, and I'm just like, oh, I just would love more than anything to just be back there, but then I'm like, I can't. Like, I've tried speaking to people about like professionals and like trying to get all help, but it's just something. I think I guess the more you experience as well, the more you kind of think the risk. And as well, I think one of the main things as well, which I sort of didn't touch on throughout that, was I was already working as a nail technician throughout the whole of 2019, and even though I was getting paid through high tech, I was also making a living through doing nails, and obviously it was okay because I was still getting paid through the team, but at the same time I had massive loss of income from not being able to work through doing my nails. So it was a bit like, then how much risk am I willing to take? Like, maybe if I'd broken a leg it would have been different, I would have still been able to work, but I was out of action for so long through that work. So
I think that's the thing, is it, the older you get, the more crashes you have, the more aware of it you are. And like you say, I mean, I don't know if you were in a situation where you had to do the nail technician work, but it can, if you're out of action, say for me, if I can't use my hands, then suddenly I cannot work.
Exactly.
So it's and if you're using that to supplement your professional cycling income, which a lot of women I know do,
definitely,
that extra risk becomes harder to take.
Definitely. I think that's sort of what it came to in the end, like with Cam's Tifosi was a UCI team, but no, I wasn't a salaried rider, So it was kind of like, it came to the point like, how much am I going to make it back into getting a salary again, or do I just go full into sort of making a career for myself elsewhere, while still enjoying riding my bike? So yeah, it's a hard one, because like obviously you dream of being a professional bike rider and making a good income and everything, but really like you only can make a good income in women's cycling if you are the top 5%. So it's, if it gets to the point where you're not thoroughly like, well, when you need to pay your own way, it's just not feasible, is it, to just carry on? So yeah.
And I think I was looking at the Cyclist Alliance. They do like a survey on the female pro peloton every year, and they do a survey on the riders' salaries, and you know, it's basically saying that the top riders, they get paid plenty, but the disparity between the lower level UCI teams and the top level women's UCI teams is getting wider. So like, the top riders are earning more and more, but actually if you then have a bad year and have to ride for a less good team, that you're going to be taking a ridiculous pay cut, potentially not be able to fully support yourself on that wage. So, you know, it is a very real consideration, especially if you're like the middle percent of the peloton. You know, you're not quite winning races, but you're still really good, but you're kind of dancing around in the middle here, like trying to get your opportunity. There's only so long you can do that on basically no money, unless you're supported in some way. If you're lucky enough,
enough to have support from elsewhere, but not all of us are that lucky.
So let's talk about 2020. I mean, you touched on it there. You rode for Cam Stefosi, but you didn't actually race, did you? With COVID and so through this year.
So Simon was amazing. I was in contact with him, I think, from August. I already knew High Tech didn't want me again, so he was like, we'll do this, it's going to be an amazing year. He honestly, it's such a good team. Like, all the staff are amazing, they're such nice people. And we went to, the girls were doing, is it Cementa Valenciana?
There's like a stage race in Valencia.
Stage race in Valencia. So we all went. I think there was 6 of them that were competing, and then me and Katie Scott, who just went sort of for training, really. So that was really good. We managed, I'm so pleased we managed to get out of the country last year. And then I think we were getting ready to go to Belgium, and then that was it. Lockdown came along, so I was getting fit. I was really fit actually last year, and then it was sort of abruptly ended, which is a shame, because it was such a good team, and I would have loved to have got some racing in, and I was really looking forward to doing like tour series and coming back to the UK, because that's what I love. I love that kind of racing, that style of racing. So I was dead excited, but obviously didn't get a chance to do that.
So do you think you'll ever make a return to doing like just the crits or like some UK stuff, or do you think you've retired for good?
I'll never say never. Like, I think we bought the house a year ago, and I think that changed a lot for us as well. Like, I needed that sort of security of like my job, and not that I like completely, like, you can have a full-time job and still race a bike, like that's completely fine, but for me, like, I'm not that organized. Like, I didn't think that I'd be able to do that, but I think I'd like to maybe try a bit of cross again, just like nothing, not national, just like Yorkshire League or something like that. And then if I got into it again, then I'd probably try and do some of the British stuff. But I don't know. At the moment, I'm really not in a routine at all to be thinking about racing. But I won't say never, because I love it. Like, I just love riding my bike, and you know, maybe after some time I'll have my confidence back again and I will have forgotten everything and it'll just be all fine and dandy again. So yeah, we'll
For
we'll
sure.
have to see.
So you bought a house last year with Gabs. What are you
Yeah,
doing? What are you doing now?
yeah. So we bought, well, yeah, December 2019, we got the keys. That was a very exciting day.
Ooh.
And moved up to Yorkshire. And then, so I've actually been a nail tech. This is my fourth year now being a nail technician. Coming, yeah, it will be. So that's sort of what I do. I just do now. I've got a little studio at home. And I'm thinking, I'm just passed all my award in education and training, so I can be an educator hopefully. So that's sort of where that's going. But also I'm now training to be a cycling coach, which is very exciting, and I'm really enjoying it actually, because it's kind of keeping me quite involved with that side of my life, with Jodie Warrington and the Fast Hair program. So it's an amazing program that he's putting together, and it's basically working with like women's cycling training, working with your menstrual cycle, because I think that is something that throughout my career no one's ever spoken about, and I've not had a coach that's ever mentioned it. So I think for me it's really important that it's sort of made, it's a bit more well known and people know about it, because I know, like, 50% of the population hopefully will go through a menstrual cycle. So it's like, I think it's something that I think it's going to be really big and sort of get some traction. And
100%. I don't know whether you've read it, but there's a really good book called Raw, ROAR, by with Stacey Sims, and I think as someone who's competed from a very young age, similar to yourself, actually reading that book was the first time that I ever realized that my hormones were actually affecting what training I could and couldn't do. And you know, like, part of in my own experience, when I got overtrained or when I had problems, you know, it could have been something, if my coach had been aware of that, they'd have been able to, you know, I think I would have got more out of myself. And just, I think when you're coaching other athletes, you want them to be able to work with their physiology rather than against it, right?
Definitely, 100%. Like, there's so many times I can think of in the past where I've been like, oh, why couldn't I do that in my training today? Or like, why wasn't I performing? Or, you know, just like, it's not spoken about very much, but like, a lot of people, you're sort of told to take your contraceptive pill for longer than you should to put off your period, when actually that phase of your cycle, you are actually at your physically at your strongest. So I think just little things like that women, racers need to be aware of. Like, not even if you're racing, just like if you want to get your best out of your physical ability, like, it's so important. So I'm really excited to get going with this one.
Yeah, no, for sure. So your role there is you're going to be coaching some riders.
So I don't have experience in coaching at all. So I'm doing my level 3 coaching course at the moment. So obviously I have like bags of experience of being coached and lots of multiple coaches. Jody, I'll be sort of working alongside Jody. He'll be more of like the science side of things, and Lucy Ellis, who will be doing sort of like nutritional side of things. So we can just like bounce off each other. It should be good.
No, that is super, super exciting. And then you touched on it earlier as well, like the Lavender Grace nails. Like, how is that going?
It's good. Obviously lockdown hasn't helped very much, but so when we moved in December, I did the whole house up. It was a bit of a wreck and ruin. So I opened the studio in February, and then obviously it opened 6 weeks and we all shut again. So I've built up quite a good client base, and I've got a little Etsy store selling nails online. So that's going really well. So I'm just just getting there now, and it's very stop start, obviously, trying to get clients at the minute, but no, it's good. It's going well, and I love it. So
Yeah, no, that is super awesome. And you've recently got, well, I say fairly recently, you've gotten a little doggo.
yes, he's literally keeping me so busy. It's absolutely crackers. But no, he's good. He's getting me out the house for at least an hour every day during this strange time. So it's good. And obviously, while Gabs is away, he's my little best bud. So
Oh,
he's
yeah.
mental.
So Gabs is riding his second year for Movistar, his second year as a pro, I think.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's
yeah,
right. Yeah.
Neo Pro, yeah.
And what is it, now that you've stepped away from the racing, and you're kind of supporting Gabs and running your own stuff, like what's that transition like?
Yeah, it's weird because obviously I sort of was coming out of it while he was like going into it. So we kind of like it was all very exciting when it was all coming about. But yeah, it's nice because it's just sort of like all he's ever wanted, and like he's really so passionate about it. Like I've never known someone work so hard. Like when I think back to my training, I'm like, wow, he's so dedicated. He's really a hard worker. He's a tough nut. But yeah, it's nice because I think as well it's good for him because I do live like a normal life. Like I get up, I have to work. I just like do, the norm, what the general population do. And he's not always, we don't talk about cycling that much, to be honest, at home. Like we just have normal conversation. So I think it's good for him that it's not sort of like a center of cycling, and it's not all he thinks about. He's got other distractions. And I think it's nice where we live as well. There's quite a lot of people for him to train with in sort of like the home Firth area around there, but it's not sort of constant, cycling all the time. So it's good.
Yeah, no, I think it's important to have a life balance, whether you're a cyclist, a nail technician,
Yeah,
whatever you're
100%.
doing, you need that balance, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and then he makes me feel really lazy as well. So I still keep getting out and exercising. So yeah.
So
Good.
are you still getting out on your bike much now?
Yes, a bit. Abby May Parkinson, she came home for Christmas because her mum and dad live probably about 25 minutes away from our house, so quite close. So she dragged me out, which was really nice. She's flying. I'm excited to see how she gets on this year. So yeah, I've been getting out, I've been going on Zwift, and I am now with Pinarello UK as an ambassador. So that's really cool. So I've got new bike motivation at the minute.
Yeah,
the
best kind of motivation.
Exactly. So yeah, and I've been given a gravel as well. So that's very exciting because there's so many woods and like forests around where I live. So I'm quite excited to go get dirty and muddy and cold on that.
Going back to your cycling roots from when you were younger as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you very much, Grace, for telling us all about your life.
Thank you.
Where can people find you if they want to follow along?
On Instagram mainly, yeah. So I'm just at Grace Garner with a Y. So yeah, just trying to keep everyone updated, but I'm not 100% amazing on Instagram. I sort of have it in bursts. So but yeah, that's where I'll be.
So if you want to see photos of Sammy the dog and maybe occasionally Grace, I'll leave the links down below.
Fab. Thank you.
If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe. And to listen to the full podcast, you can search the Keira McVitty podcast in your favourite podcast platform, or you can click the link below. Keep risking it for a biscuit, and I'll see you in the next video.